He thought he was alone in his grief, until he saw her crying at his son's grave holding a child that looked just like him. What she whispered next changed everything he believed about his son, about loyalty, and about love. From where are you watching this story today? Let us know in the comments. Now grab your tissues, because this story will pull at your heartstrings and remind you that love often blooms where you least expect it. Asterisk rain tapped gently against the windshield of the Rolls-Royce Phantom as it pulled into the secluded cemetery just outside the city. The man inside wore a long black coat, tailored to perfection, and dark glasses despite the overcast sky. This was Mr. Richard Langston, one of the world's wealthiest men. But today, he wasn't a billionaire. He was simply a father. A broken one. It had been 3 years since his only son, Julian, had died in a tragic accident. Julian had been the heir to Langston Enterprises, charming, intelligent, and compassionate. The world had adored him, but no one had adored him more than Richard. Every year on the anniversary of Julian's death, Richard visited his grave alone. No press, no entourage, just silence and sorrow. But this year was different. As Richard stepped out of the car, umbrella in hand, he heard faint sobs. They were coming from his son's grave. Asterisk kneeling by the grave was a woman, drenched in rain. Her clothes were modest, her skin deep and smooth like cocoa. Her hands trembled as she held a small boy, no more than 2, whose curly hair stuck to his forehead as he stared quietly at the headstone. Richard's heart stopped. He knew this woman. It was Mariah, one of the housemaids who had worked for him. Years ago, Mariah? He asked, stepping forward. She froze. Slowly she turned around, her face wet with tears and rain. "Mr. Langston," she whispered, "what are you doing here?" He asked, confusion etched on his face. "And who is this child?" Mariah stood up, holding the boy tightly. She looked terrified, like a deer caught in headlights. He's Julian's son," she said. Richard felt the ground shift beneath him. "What did you say?" Mariah bowed her head. "I didn't plan to hide it forever. I didn't know how." She told him everything. Julian had fallen in love with her, secretly, silently. Over the years she worked in their mansion. Not a fling, not a fantasy, but a true soulful love. They would talk late into the night when everyone was asleep. She would bring in tea, and they would talk about books, dreams, injustice, life. When Julian started Langston Foundation too, fund scholarships for underprivileged youth, she helped him typing, organizing, researching. She wasn't just a maid. She had become his partner. But Richard had always expected Julian to marry someone appropriate, a woman of wealth, status, and skin color deemed suitable by high society. So Julian never told his father. And when he died suddenly in a car crash while driving back from one of the foundation's events, no one knew Mariah was carrying his child. Until now. Richard stared at the little boy. Big hazel eyes, the exact shade of Julian's. A dimple on his left cheek, just like his father. He was the spitting image of his late son, and suddenly Richard's heart cracked open. "What's his name?" he asked softly. "Elliot Julian Langston." She replied, "I gave him his father's name. He deserves to know who he was." The boy looked up at Richard and whispered, "Are you Grandpa?" That single word shattered every wall Richard had built around himself since his son died. Over. The following weeks, Richard's world changed. He invited Mariah and Elliot to live with him temporarily, claiming it was to ensure the boy's future. But deep down, he knew he simply wanted to be close to the last piece of his son. He watched as Elliot played with Julian's childhood toys, sat at his old piano, and even asked questions like Julian once had. Mariah was not the shy maid he once overlooked. She was educated, eloquent, and full of quiet strength. She had raised her son alone, rejecting offers of help out of pride and principle. Richard, once blinded by prejudice and pride, began to see the truth. His son had chosen a woman of integrity, courage, and love. One evening after dinner, Elliot sat in Richard's lap and asked, "Can I call you Grandpa now?" Richard nodded, tears in his eyes. "Yes, my boy. I am your grandpa, and I promise you I won't fail you like I did your father." Asterisk years pass. Elliot became the rightful heir to Langston Enterprises, not because of blood alone, but because of the love and vision that lived on in him. Richard taught him everything, but it was Mariah who taught him kindness, humility, and purpose. Mariah became more than the mother of the heir. She joined the board of the Langston Foundation, using her experience and story to advocate for other single mothers, for racial equality, for love without conditions. Richard, once a man of marble walls and ice-cold handshakes, now smiled often. He laughed again. And every year, on the anniversary of Julian's death, they all visited the grave together, not just to mourn, but to celebrate love that defied status, color, and silence.